Let us see the transfer from the floor to the standing position performed with the two health workers. If the patient is fallen on the floor and the first clinical examination has excluded any negative consequences that would require an emergency call, the health worker can proceed lifting up the patient from the floor. Similarly to what stated for the transfer with two health workers, for this maneuver also two options are available. First, one health worker in front and the other behind the patient, recommended if patient's motor skills are modest or if both health workers do not know him very well. Should the first attempt reveal the inability for the patient to successfully complete the movement, it is mandatory to use the patient lifter or to call for more colleagues. Within the domestic settings, it is unlikely to have available more than two persons that can perform the maneuver we are about to see. In this case, calling the emergency number is the best option available. If the patient is known and the inability is temporary, it is also possible to wait until his abilities are restored. In any case, do not wait for more than few minutes before taking actions. 2. Only one health worker behind the patient if the motor competencies of the latter allow it. This maneuver will be presented in another video. First move is to allow the patient reaching the sitting position on the floor, making sure that both heels are on the floor and as close as possible to the buttocks. At this point, one health worker goes in front and the other behind the patient, both with their feet fully leaning on the floor and in full squat position. The health worker in front of the patient places his feet in front of the patient's feet. Then places his hands over the patient's shoulder blade, passing under the armpit and laying the elbows slightly laterally respect with the patient's knees. Then the patient places his hands over the health worker's shoulders. The health worker behind places his hands on the patient's pelvis. The health worker in front starts the maneuver by making the patient sway as to overcome the inertial force of the patient's body. The health worker behind follows the movement and, as soon as the pelvis is detached from the floor, the health worker in front gives a verbal command to the patient to push as much as possible with both lower limbs in order to stand up. This latter verbal command has to be matched with the manual command given by both the health workers.